Good morning, legends. It's time for us to learn our next set of vocabulary words, List 2.7. After we finish this list, you'll have two more lists to get you ready for Common Assessment 2. Make sure you've got something to write with and your vocabulary chart. Let's get started on this week's list of words. The first word is discreet. D-I-S-C-R-E-E-T. Discreet. Discreet is a word that can be used to describe the woman in this picture who appears to be keeping a secret. Now, if this is a word that we use to describe people, what's the part of speech? You're right. Discreet is an adjective. It means careful and wise in your speech or actions, especially to avoid causing trouble or to gain an advantage. If you decide to keep a secret from your parents because you don't want to get someone in trouble, or if you decide to keep a secret from your competition in an organization or a race, then you are being discreet in order to gain an advantage. There are lots of synonyms and antonyms for this word. If you are being discreet, you could also say you are being subtle, restrained, tactful, careful, judicious, prudent, or modest. If you are not discreet, then someone could say you are insensitive, indelicate, careless, unthinking, rude, crass, impolite, imprudent, or indiscreet. Now, we've got three SAT vocabulary words in the list of synonyms for this word: subtle, tactful, and prudent. If all of these words mean the same as discreet, and words like rude or impolite mean the opposite, what's the connotation of this word? You are absolutely right. Discreet is positive. Now, let's make sure you've got the other forms of this word you need. If you want to say that something is done in a discreet way, you need the adverb discreetly. I discreetly hid my unfinished homework in my folder, hoping that my teacher wouldn't notice. If you want to describe someone's quality of being discreet, you need a noun: discretion or discreetness. My sister's discretion keeps her out of a lot of drama with her friends. Let's see if you really understand this word. When would it be best to be discreet, and why? Confronting a friend who's been spreading rumors about you, congratulating a friend who has just gotten into college, asking your crush out for Valentine's Day during lunch, or telling your little brother or sister to be quiet during a movie. Ready for the next word? Let's check it out. This word is disparage. D-I-S-P-A-R-A-G-E. Disparage. Now, when you look at this picture, the man in the front looks pretty sure that those two young ladies in the back are saying something about him. And you can tell from the look on their faces that they're getting a pretty big laugh out of whatever it is. These are the women who are doing the disparaging in this picture. Now, if disparage is something you can do, what's the part of speech for this word? Disparage is an action word, which means it's a verb. It has two definitions. The first is the most common: to speak poorly about. The second is also one you need to know: to lower in rank or reputation. If someone gets the opposite of a promotion, a demotion, then they've been lowered in rank. They've been disparaged. Here are some synonyms for the word disparage: to badmouth, belittle, denigrate, deprecate, diminish, or put down. If you are being the opposite of disparaging, then you are giving someone acclaim or applaud, exalt, extol, glorify, laud, praise. If words and phrases like badmouth or put down mean the same as disparage, and to do things like praise or applaud mean the opposite, what's the connotation of disparage? If you guess that this word is negative, you're right. Here are the other forms of the word disparage you need to know. If you know someone that does a lot of disparaging and you want to describe them, then that's the adjective you need, disparaging. I find it difficult to work in teachers' classes when they are disparaging towards students. If you want to say that something was done in a disparaging way, you need the adverb, disparagingly. My mother disparagingly fussed at me in front of my friends when I neglected to clean my room. If you want to talk about the words that someone say to disparage someone else, you need the noun, disparagement. Her disparagement that I was irresponsible made me feel really bad. Now, let's see if you understand this word. Choose a celebrity. Say something disparaging about him. Who do you think you would have the easiest time coming up with a disparagement for? President Obama, Taylor Swift, Rihanna, or Kanye West? Be careful with that first one. Miss Miller really loves President Obama. Got your answer? Good. Let's go on to the next word. This word is hermetic. 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 Hermetic is a word that I could use to describe the jars in this picture. If I wanted some pretzels, I wouldn't have to work very hard to get into this jar. But my hope would be that they are really, really fresh, since the seals on these jars look pretty strong. The word hermetic is a word that I could use to describe the seals on each of these jars, and it ends with the letters IC. So what's the part of speech of hermetic? That's right, it's an adjective. It has two definitions. The first is usually used to describe objects like those jars, airtight or resistant to external influence. Because of the seals on those jars, it's difficult for air to get into them and make those pretzels stale. That's how you use definition number one. Definition number two could be used to describe a person who is reclusive or solitary. Think of them as someone who seals themselves off not from air, but from other people. Here are some synonyms and antonyms for hermetic. Words that mean the same are airtight, arcane, esoteric, and lonely. Word that means the opposite, vulnerable, exposed, social. This word is pretty neutral. If you're using it to describe an object like a jar, probably doesn't have any positive or negative connotation. But if you're using it to describe a person, you're probably wanting to use a negative connotation. There's only one other form of this word, and it's the word that you would use to name a person who is being hermetic. We would call them a hermit, a person that keeps to themselves. The recluse was a real hermit who never came out of his home. I just connected this new word to one of your old SAT vocabulary words. Dang, I sound smart. Let's see if you really got the word hermetic before we move on to the next one. Where would a hermit least like to live? Why? The first picture is New York Times Square on New Year's Eve. This deserted forest, this small desert town, or this isolated island. Where would a hermit least like to live? Why? Let's move on to our next word. This word is ineffable. 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 I don't know what this young man in this picture is keeping from us, but whatever it is, he certainly decided to be discreet about it. Dang, I am smart today. The word ineffable ends with the letters ABLE, and it's a word that I could use to describe the young man in this picture. Since it's a describing word, what's its part of speech? It is an adjective. Something that is ineffable is incapable of being expressed in words or unspeakable. Secrets and things that you hope no one ever finds out about or things that just leave you unable to talk or speechless are things that are ineffable. Here are some synonyms and antonyms for this word. If something is ineffable, it is incommunicable, indefinable, indescribable, nameless, or unutterable. If something is not ineffable and you can talk about it all day, then it is communicable, definable, expressible, or speakable. If you are describing something as ineffable, whatever that thing is probably has a pretty negative connotation. If you want to talk about something having the quality of being ineffable, that quality is ineffability. If you want to say something was done in an ineffable way, then you need the adverb ineffably. Now, let's make sure you've got this word. Which picture best demonstrates the meaning of ineffable? Make sure you've got a reason for the picture that you chose. Which one of these pictures best shows someone who is unable to speak about something, and why? Let's move on to the next word on the list. This word looks a lot like ineffable and sounds a little bit like it too. So be careful with these two words this week. This word is inexorable. 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 The picture in this image is from the movie Unstoppable, which was about a train that was speeding unstoppably across the country. That's exactly what the word inexorable means. It also ends in able, so that makes it an adjective. Something that is inexorable cannot be persuaded, moved, or stopped. It is relentless. A parent that can't be affected by your use of rhetoric, like logos or pathos or ethos, could be described as inexorable. It didn't matter how many times I begged my mom to let me go to the party. She was inexorable and continued to say no. Here are some words that mean the same and the opposite as inexorable. If someone or something is inexorable, then they are adamant, merciless, relentless, resolute, rigid, stubborn, unrelenting, unstoppable. If someone is not inexorable, then they are flexible, lenient, merciful, yielding. This word has a conditional connotation. If you are describing someone as being relentless in pursuing a goal, that sounds pretty positive. But if you're talking about someone being stubborn in their decision to not do something that someone asked them to do, that's pretty negative. So this word really depends on how it's being used. If you want to say that someone has the quality of being inexorable, then that quality is inexorability. Miss Parrish's inexorability about letting us leave the class means I never ask her if I can go to the restroom. If you want to say that something was done in an inexorable way, then you need the adverb inexorably. Miss Parrish inexorably says no whenever I ask her if I can use a restroom pass. I am a pretty inexorable person. Let's see if you can use this word in a way other than to describe me. Which of these images best demonstrates the definition of inexorable, and why? A flower growing from concrete, a football player that can't be stopped, or a yes student who's just been accepted to college. Which one of these words most means inexorable to you? I'm going to pause now before we move on to the next word. This is video 1 of 2 for this week's SAT words. Come back and watch the second video so that you can finish up your chart. See you in a few.